Please go ahead and retry this question before watching the video. If you don't have your clause Quizlet completely memorized word for word, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. It's gonna make understanding all this stuff so much easier and help you get them correct so much more often. So next thing I want you to do before I explain how to do this question, I want you to find all of the verbs in this sentence. There are 4 verbs in this sentence. There are 4 verbs in this sentence. So find them all. And then I want you to find their subjects. I want you to find each of their subjects and make sure you get the complete subject, the entire subject, not just the simple subject. And after you've identified all the subject-verb combos, meaning you've identified the clauses, then I want you to determine if they are independent or dependent. Determine if they are independent or dependent. All right, so I'm going to assume that you've already done what I asked. If not, please pause the video until you have completed those steps. First, we're going to find all the verbs. So we have furls and unfurls. Then we have reflects. Then we have appear. All right, so we have 4 verbs in this. For our first verbs, they both share clam as their subject. Specifically, the clam is the complete subject. So the clam furls, the clam unfurls. Both of those verbs are using that. The clause is the one doing both of those verbs. Now, this second verb, reflects, has a much longer subject. This entire thing is the subject. Microscopic mirror-like silica spheres on the foil side reflects. That entire thing is the subject. And what the ACT loves to do is make these subjects really long so that it is harder to recognize. But the better you get at doing so, the easier these questions are going to be. And then appear, this side is essentially the subject of appear. Okay, so now we're going to go back through and determine, are these independent or dependent clauses? So every time we have a subject-verb combo, we have a clause. And so the easy way to determine if we have an independent or dependent clause, if it starts with a dependent clause marker. In this scenario, as is a preposition. And a preposition is one of our dependent clause markers. So this first part is a dependent clause, okay? The second part does not start with a dependent clause. It starts with microscopic mirror-like silica. So this is going to be an independent clause. And the third one starts with a participle, which is a dependent clause marker, making that last part a dependent clause. So we got 3 clauses here in this one sentence, pretty complex sentence. And it's asking us where we need punctuation. And so the good news is all of the answers have a comma between microscopic and mirror-like. And they do that because they're not trying to test if you need a comma between these 2 adjectives or not. So all of the answers have that. So they're really just trying to test if we need a comma before microscope. And we do, because we have one clause as an introductory phrase. Okay, so this is an introductory phrase or clause, and therefore we want to separate it. We want to start our clauses with a subject or a dependent clause marker or a conjunction of some sort. And so in this scenario, we have a dependent clause. We need to have a comma separating dependent followed by an independent clause. And we know that clauses are going to start wherever the subject is or wherever the conjunction right in front of the subject is. Okay, So in this scenario, we need that comma because we have a dependent clause followed by an independent clause. So this eliminates B and C. B and C are gone for that reason. And now choosing between A and D, the only difference between A and D is whether or not we need that comma after spheres. But after spheres is a part of the subject. We still are just continuing in the subject there, and putting a comma would be punctuation in the middle of a clause. So answer D is wrong because of punctuation in the middle of a clause. Answer B and C are wrong because of clauses separated improperly. Okay, so that leaves us with answer A. We want to reread answer A to make sure it makes sense. And as the clam furls and unfurls its lips, that's done. Microscopic mirror-like silica spheres on the foil side reflects all visible light. That's done, making this appear white. Okay, and so very, very simple. That does make sense, and that is our correct answer. If this made sense to you, please add it to your worksheet and then go on to complete the worksheet for all of the other clause 3 questions that you missed on this test. If this is the last clause 3 question that you missed, please go ahead and do the mastery for clause 3 before going to the next category. Mastery meaning getting 10 correct in a row on the clause 3 mastery, which will ensure you've experienced all the variations of questions are going to throw at you in clause 3 and going to make sure you will not miss this category again outside of simple errors. So please go ahead and do that and then head on to the next question.